Computer, yeah.
There.
Okay, got it? Okay, okay. So I would like to introduce today one of my teachers and mentors, which I'm excited, Dr. Reggie Melrose.
Mm.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Nice
Mendy. It's
meeting.
so nice to be with you.
Same here, same here. I'm excited to whenever I talk to you, I just feel that just the self is coming up, it's real.
Yeah.
Okay, so um, just to clarify, where do I graduated from her class, your class, back in 2017,
Yes, it was a minute ago.
a minute ago. Yeah, that was already. I see my certificate is right on the wall, so I still
Oh.
see that all the time right in front of me. That's behind my computer. That was 2017. I would like to our listeners to hear, I'm constantly trying to promote, and I want them to hear directly from the teacher. First of all, you have a background, how you got to this, which was very inspiring. And especially to our young fellows, to know, and parents to know how to deal with the young fellows and young teens. And I think you're the perfect example, and then we can go in, afterwards into the method. But first, what intrigued you, and how did this all start? If you can just enlighten us a little bit, yeah.
That's such a loving question. It means a lot to me that you have seen me. I really feel, Mendy, like you've seen me and you get that this is the outgrowth of a lifetime of struggle where I was the seeker. I was the seeker. I needed to find hope and healing, and I turned everywhere that I possibly could. I was very willing, Mendy, very willing. So I was seeking and searching and researching. And if somebody said, try this, I tried that. And I did 14 years of talk therapy, various forms of it, while studying it at McGill to become a psychologist. I started at 14 as a foster child, so I was in the foster system. And that was where I first had access to mental health support because I really felt like I was losing my mind. I really was on that edge of, I'm not going to make it if I don't get the help that I need.
And were you a seeker already by 14 years old?
I was, isn't that interesting? So,
No.
yeah, I really was.
So I think that's actually in a way where you're lucky, because if you were a seeker from the beginning and at that age, that's amazing.
Yeah, this is definitely Beshert,
Yeah,
Mendy, right?
yes, because it's so painful when you deal with young teens and even young adults, and they're still not seeking, and I can't put in a disc into them, but I don't know what to do, and that's wow. We call that it's a blessing just to be a
Yes,
seeker.
yes. And it did take someone to intervene. It took a social worker to intervene. I was at the hospital again with injuries from what I experienced in my biological family. And a social worker said, you're not going back there again. And that started the whole proceedings for me to become a foster child and then gain access to help. And I definitely was not, is the word shrugging the help? There's a word, reject, but I was definitely not refusing the help. And I was reading by then a beautiful book called Living, Loving, and Learning. At 14, my foster mother gave me a beautiful book that changed my life. It's very hard for me to talk about it. And
Yeah.
nobody's asked me this, Mendy. I'm sorry. You're asking me something no one's ever asked me before. So, yeah, it was just a shift in my life. And I thought There really is real love somewhere, and I'm going to find it. I'm going to
Wow.
find it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Said I see it such a blessing knowing where you're coming from and wow, that's amazing. And I wish, you know, only I would always pray for other young fellows just first to be able to seek, and then we can go to the next step because it's so painful to see when they don't even know what's
Yeah.
happening.
Oh,
Now, would you say also that just going back a drop, was there what was missing at home? Was that missing the attachment, or was there just developmental trauma? What's how would you call that? Because even that people don't realize that how the nature and nurture really happens and how it affects us as young children when we don't even have our fully brain capacity.
that's right. It really was that mixture of all of it where I was certainly carrying some very compromised genes. I mean, really genetically. Um, you know, the trauma that our ancestors experience and how that gets, it changes our DNA and really lands in the cells of our body. And that was for sure there inside of me. And I was born extremely sensitive, very, very sensitive. My father describes it as born with my veins open. He saw it. And he had already had four children before me. But when I came and he saw how I was, he'd never seen anything like it before. How open my veins were, is how he describes it. So there were all kinds of things about me. Um, and then it was both developmental trauma and, of course, the attachment injuries that really do come from developmental trauma. It's really hard to experience abuse of various forms in your family of origin and not end up with attachment injuries. So, certainly, I would say insecure attachment pattern, more the avoidant type than the anxious type is what I was really left with, that I went out into the world with, and that I continue to repair through this beautiful work. Yeah.
And it's also interesting, just curious, did you feel by 14, let's say, in victimhood? Did that
Mm.
come up?
Gosh, that is Mendy. You ask the best questions. And again, this might not be helpful to people who do feel that way. Mendy, there was something
I'll
in.
tell you, they will be helpful because whatever it is, and if they know who Reggie Melrose is today, they see that if you did it, that's why I want you to really say it, that all those be an influence to the world, what can become and what you are doing with your light. And people will see, yes, because sometimes they don't understand in the beginning that our trauma is really what lights up the world later. What did you learn from the trauma? That's really what we need to, but unfortunately, when somebody is very injured, it's very early in the process, very hard to explain. But you are the perfect candidate to show to the world how your light is shining, how many people you're helping. You're going from coast to coast, from
Yeah,
young to old, from culture to culture, and that's
yeah,
what's amazing. And this is exactly the flag that you're going around with, and that which I want people that are at the moment in victimhood or
yeah,
went through hard upbringings and different things. And you know what? Everybody has their package, including
yeah,
myself.
yeah,
And I realize that.
yeah,
And it's something that when you can give strength to others just by, an interview and people
yeah.
see that and listen to that, and then wow, there is hope. There is
Yes.
hope, you know.
Thank you. Because I do believe objectively, I was victimized clearly by the you know, these words are hard to say. I love and care about my biological parents. It's hard to use the word abuse. It hurts.
Yeah. So, what I always would share, and I tell my clients right now, I mean, usually because of the common with parent stories, and again, I have, again, my parent stories. It's not anymore by blaming them, but I'm the one that was injured. The child is the one that is injured. So the injury is here. So it's not that we're blaming them, but we need to take care of our injury.
Yeah.
And again, and that's where the light is coming out actually from that injury. And I also add to that the injury, actually, the hole in the heart always stays. The only question is, how do you fill it, with victimhood or with your light?
Right.
And that's what I'm seeing in you, Reggie.
Oh, thank you, Mendy. I'm honored for you to see me that way. It really means a lot. Yeah, you know me, I'll never stop working on myself, boy. I still see the blind spots and I'm working on it. Um, Mendy, I want to share something about that because surprisingly, though I was clearly victimized, I I adopted that other kind of a stance that many trauma babies do, which is I'm no victim. I minimized it all. I would make jokes about what
Like
I
a
was
cover up.
experiencing, like a really strange cover up going on where I was just going to be a strong,
Macho.
unstoppable go-getter. You know, I don't whine and complain. Look at me. I'm just carrying on, this kind of a way of being. So it really was Peter Levine's session. I only ever had one session from Peter Levine, my incredible teacher and mentor, and
At what
who I
age?
give. Yeah,
At what age did you have the first session with him?
that was at 28. I think I had turned 28 years old. It was after 14 years of talk therapy, and I had read his book. A friend gave me his book. And then Maggie Klein, who's a co-author with him, was a very good friend of mine. And she gave him her office in Long Beach to hold sessions. And she said, would you like to have a session with Peter? He's going to be working out of my office in Long Beach. He was living in Boulder, Colorado at the time. And I said, oh my goodness, absolutely, because I had read the book. So I have this one session with him, Mendy, and I thought that I was going to go there and not have to tell him anything about my trauma, which I was really excited after 14 years of talk therapy to not have to do. I don't want to talk about this anymore. And he asked me right away, what brings you here? And I was so angry that he asked me that question. I said, I thought I didn't have to talk about it. I don't want to have to, relive it in a way by telling you. I don't want to remember that and go back there. He said, you're going to have to tell me something. I was so angry. So I gave him the tiniest, tiniest, tiniest little example of something I had experienced. And immediately he sat back and said, "Ah, so you experienced ritualistic torture." Ritualistic torture. I had minimized for 28 years what that was. I was no victim. I was going to go out there and conquer the world, and nobody was going to make me a victim, right? So when he helped me, I mean, I didn't like it. I didn't know it was going to be helpful. But Mendy, from that day forward, I never minimized what happened to me again. And that was what I needed to stop doing, making jokes about it and really doing that reaction formation, right? The opposite of being a victim is, you know, and who wants that? I mean, that's a lifelong process, Mendy, for me to get those parts out of me. They show up again and again. Reggie's tough. And I want to get gentler. I want to get gentler, Mendy. So, yeah,
Was
it was the
was
beginning.
it so? Basically, you would say that Peter Levine was that first session was the biggest breakthrough that happened.
Biggest breakthrough that happened that I didn't know happened because
Uh,
it took weeks and months. I'm not sure how long for me to start noticing and getting feedback from others and realizing that something in me had really changed. from that very bizarre session because, it's really weird the things we do, isn't it, Mendy?
Right. And
Yeah.
he did he work with you at that time somatically, I would say.
Yes, he
Right.
gave me that, that manipulation of the gut that I do as part of SRT. He doesn't teach it in somatic experiencing, but he gave it to me. And because it changed me so much, I do teach it in SRT. It is something that I am passing along, even though it's not something that's a part of somatic experiencing. Yeah.
That's good. That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. And now, would you be able to define to the audience what is somatic work?
Yeah. Great question. In its simplest form, and you know how I am about some of Einstein's wisdom, right? He was an interesting, controversial character, but some things were really right on. And he really is all about the helping us to understand the necessity of reducing things to its simplest form. Never simpler, he said, but always to its simplest form. So, really, what I want to share is that the word somatic means body. And so somatic work really is about inviting the body into the process, not neglecting all of the wisdom that the body has to share in a therapeutic process, if you will. I think it's okay to say therapeutic process. I mean, SRT isn't therapy. It's really more of an educational model. We teach self-regulation skills to help heal the effects of stress and trauma. And it really ends up being quite therapeutic, quite healing. So I would say that we invite the body. So there's a wisdom there. So we're always paying attention to it. Peter trained me to be very, very astute with what are the movements of the body communicating, which includes the movements of the eyebrows, the eyeballs, the cheekbones, the jaw, what's going on in the jaw, what's happening in the shoulders, micro movements, always noticing what's happening in the body that's often, more times than not, beneath our conscious awareness. We're telling a narrative over top what the body's revealing. And there can be congruence with that sometimes and incongruence with that sometimes. It's really important to notice, what we're
That's
in
right.
there. Yeah.
And coming from the community, from our community, it's so hard to explain to them, like you just said, that the body has wisdom because, you know, basically we call them the people of the book. They like academics, they like studying, and they start studying from 3 years old. And studying is all about them. We start telling them the body, they say, "What? I go, what are you talking about? What is that? What's the body?" And it's I don't know if do you realize that in other cultures as well, or it's only in our culture here? I'm not sure, but
I come out of that culture, having gone to McGill. When you get a training at McGill, it is very, very heady. It really is. It's psychoanalytical. They're really still in a psychoanalytical model. Of course, CBT and the other cognitive approaches, but it is all about intellectualism,
intellectualism.
and we're going to solve it with this. And of course, we know that's to the great detriment to trauma babies. There's great value in all of that. It's beautiful, beautiful. And specifically when it comes to the healing of trauma, it's an impediment. It's actually an impediment. And this is if we can help people to understand that, by learning what trauma does specifically to the body and the brain. But here's something I'm even more interested in than all the neurophysiology to convince others. I love the scripture. I love the Torah. helping us to understand that we have been put in physical form. And there is so much evidence in the Torah for the importance of working with the body.
Oh
This
yeah,
vessel that we have been given in this incarnation, right? In yeah.
that's 100% because yes, I mean, talking from a Torah perspective is our sages have even a debate. And when somebody passes after 120, what goes up? Is it only the soul or is it the body as well? Even though you bury it, because obviously it's showing you that, and there's a debate about it, but at least what's the debate? People regularly would say only the soul goes up and that stays buried. No, because it has, like you said, it has wisdom, it has holiness, because that's also the cup to the soul. And the soul by itself does not exist only up there. Here, so it's not just a piece of meat what you're buying in the butcher store. It has a lot more, it has a lot more to it, and they're looking at they value it as a holy type of just as the soul. And there's even a conflict. Which one is holier?
Yes.
And because they're working, but the only thing is, yes, they're two contradicting things, but that's exactly how God created the world. He wants all contradictions to be in unison.
Yes.
And then when people don't notice that,
Yes.
and sometimes you have a desire for spirituality. On the other hand, you have a desire to do other things, which is not, how do you bring these two together? And
Yeah.
that's something which, you know, I mean, I talk, a lot of my clients are also young teens, and they're trying to be, Torah observant, and when sometimes they had a certain desire. So first of all, it takes them a long time till they talk about the desire. Then I get them to talk about the desire. Says, so what did you feel in your body when you saw that, or when you saw that thing? You had a desire. Says, you know what? You're healthy. But
Yes.
now we got to work how to deal with it. But
Yeah.
if you wouldn't have that desire, I would really send you to a medical doctor. Something is off.
That's
And
right.
then, because they're so disconnected from the body, once you notice what's happening in the body, and then you can place it, that's the thing. How would you, so something like that, and in general,
Yeah.
what practical applications would you give for our audience of what you teach, how to go about? Because, and this happens to everybody in all ages,
Yeah.
mothers, fathers, work, entrepreneurs, doesn't make a difference if it's
Yeah.
rabbis or it's people that are running huge companies, and
Yeah.
everybody goes through stress. We're only human beings, and playing the game macho doesn't work. Well,
Yeah.
we know that there's a breakdown afterwards.
Yes.
Being
Yeah.
vulnerable is macho.
Yes, that's right. It's beautiful that we're turning all of those preconceived ideas on their head. It's really lovely to see the changes that we're making in understanding that how healthy it is to cry, how important it is, how that really contributes to our strength and helps us to be stronger, is to have a healthy relationship to all of our emotions and allow all of our emotions allow ourselves to be vulnerable. I would say, really, err on the side of resources. This is the greatest thing that Peter ever really um, uh, insisted upon from the very beginning is that we take those inventories of where we have resources and where we need to build resources inside the body and outside in our lives, that we really start to find a way to not address going from our heads to our bodies until we have enough resources to do so. So it's just too darn scary for anyone of any age that has been doing this and has their beliefs and has their knowledge from all the studying they've done, and then we just try to bring them into the body. That's that can be too much, too soon, too fast. We really have to help them to have enough resources so that it becomes, they grow a window of tolerance for becoming more embodied. We need them to be able to go there in a very titrated way. There are a lot of approaches that are trying to do that too quickly, too much, too soon, too fast. And boom, then they're having these big body experiences before there's really enough of that foundational work of titrating those resources in, building that window of tolerance so that when they do start to land in their body, it's okay. It's in a whole context of enough resourcing. So that's really what I would want to say. And so it starts, I hope in 2027 my book will finally be out on SRT because I really go into detail there about what SRT is from the very beginning when somebody calls us, texts us, emails us, that right away they start to feel our humanity, our love, our compassion, our understanding of how hard it is for them to even do that much, and to really start naturalizing everything and developing a really corrective attachment relationship to us, where we are the embodiment of safety because we really, really get it. And we're not going to move them too fast into anything that they can't go there too fast, right? So as we as practitioners continue to slow ourselves down, right? I have continue to have so many somatic sessions, Mendy. They're really helpful. And I just continue to slow myself down because the quickest way to do anything is slowly. The quickest way to get anything accomplished is slowly, Mendy.
Fast, fast is slow, and slow is fast.
We gotta really slow down if we want the work to go fast. If we want to give them the results that they are looking for as quickly as we can get it to them, we need to go slowly. And
How,
then boom,
right.
because yeah, then there's this readiness. We do all that foundational work and then boom, the healing is clickety click.
What do you do when somebody really comes in activated and we start talking to the client about connect to your body, feel your feet or seat?
Yeah,
He can't even do it for 2 minutes, has no clue, or she cannot do it for no clue what you're talking. You're talking a different language.
correct.
How do you bring in that breakthrough?
Yeah.
That I would like to. I want to dumb it down to the person that does not know and does not
Yeah.
understand. If you even, I would be even willing to. I'll be the model over here. You can do it on me. But like come again, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't sit with myself. My head is
Yeah, I don't want to
my mind
sit.
is
Let's not sit. So
that's it.
often what happens, they come in activated and
And the mind
I meet,
racing. The mind is
yeah,
racing.
they're racing, 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 racing. That's it. And I just meet them. I meet them right there. And so a lot of times, very, very common for me to stay standing up to help them to feel like they can stay standing up. I always say, take your time. You can feel out if there's anywhere you want to sit or if you don't even want to sit. You just let me know. We can move all around here. I like them to just get a lay of the land. Get a lay of the land. And I always say when they come into this is why I've always worked from home. I've never not worked from home, Mendy. My home is, as you know, I hope you've been to my home. I can't remember.
No, I wasn't. I was never in your
Oh,
home. No.
darn, Mendy,
I,
why do I have memories of you being in my home? For
I was a
some
lot of Zoom calls into your home, but
Okay, okay. When people come, it's their home. It's
I have
their
to come.
home.
Actually, now you're inviting me. I'll be coming.
I'm inviting you. I am so inviting you, Mendy.
Yeah.
Come. Yes. And so I have people come in and I just say, just you feel into where you want to be
Okay.
and how you want to be. And I do not do that thing. And that's why I put Tommy's story in at the end of the 60 seconds fix. And in fact, you know how Hashem works. Hashem had Tommy come into my life. I was just finishing up the book when Tommy came into my life. And you'll read that case study again at the very end. It's how I end the book, The 60 Seconds Fix, because he wasn't going to sit down. Are you kidding? There was no sitting down. He was boom, 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 boom. So we moved. We moved together.
I think
And it,
wasn't that your experience as a young teen?
oh gosh, yes,
I
right?
remember you
Don't
telling me that.
Yes. Don't you dare, first of all, this is why SRT it's so important, right? This is not about relaxation. You're not supposed to relax. There's no right answer with these tools where you're supposed to get into some kumbaya. It's ridiculous. I'm a trauma baby. I gotta be ready. I gotta be ready for the next near death experience that I know is right around the corner. So we work with that. We meet them where they're at and we invite them to just take their time, scope it out, decide for themselves where and when and how. And when they experience that from us, because there's a lot of legwork we do before they even show up at the front door. So all that legwork we're doing in terms of how we respond to them when they reach out and how understood they already feel, especially if we get them to maybe, experience the app or the YouTube channel or the website or the book or whatever, right? They start to realize, oh, this is real. This isn't going to be, judgmental. This is really going to be a very loving approach, right? This is so they start to really get that idea before they even show up at the door. And then we don't try to make them do anything. We are outside the therapeutic model. SRT is not therapy. And just by moving it out of that model and all of the expectations around that model, they can breathe, they can be free, we really help them to have an entirely different experience than the one they've had up until us. Yeah,
Meaning, till now they were feeling stifled, and now we're just opening that up and just free. And that's where,
that's it. That's it.
so we're, basically, what we're doing is we're building trust.
You got it. We're here to play. Let's play. There's no right or wrong answer. All we care about is what's true for you. Let's discover what's true for you. Let's play together and discover together what's true for you. There's no right or wrong answer. It's such a beautiful way to be.
Wow, wow, inspiring. Is
Yeah.
there something that you can give us a story, obviously without names, but something a really impactful, personal impact that somatic work has done to someone? What can you share that the world can listen to? And
You know, even in, well, first of all, I will say this. I have a large number. It's so hard for me to know after 33 years of practicing what the number would be. But the number of teenagers and young adults coming to me with an actual suicide date,
wow,
a date.
I'll just
This
ask,
is it.
just as a personal thing, what do you feel in your heart when somebody comes with that? That's
Yeah,
so hard for a therapist and for a
yeah,
practitioner. Actually, I was actually discussing, I was my supervision call this week.
yeah,
I work with a psychologist, PhD, every week. I have, all different types of supervisors that I work with over my clients. And
yeah,
says, excuse me, he says, excuse me, Mandy, I have a suicide phone call coming in, which I have to take. So I asked him the same question. And like I always like to ask from every practitioner,
yeah,
like, that's one of the most hardest things in the responsibility and what do we really, and actually this I was discussing it. I don't know if you know my wife Toby. I don't know if you met her ever, but she's
I
she's
did.
you know, she's a psychologist as well, and asked her the same question, and we always get involved the psychiatrist, but it's one of the hardest things for a practitioner to face,
Yeah.
how to deal with
It
that.
truly is. It truly is. And I just want you to check it out with Toby because, of course, I have a memory of meeting Toby, but I
Mm.
also had a memory of you working in my home and you
Mhm.
didn't. So
Right.
check it out with Toby.
Okay.
But I really, really feel like
Right.
because I mean, you mentioned your wonderful wife, and
Mhm.
so I feel like I have met her, but you'll have to check
Right.
that out.
Right.
Don't take what I'm
Okay.
saying. Yeah.
But
Okay,
you
my
definitely,
word.
one thing I know for sure, in her room, she does SRT with the client. That I know. When
So
somebody's in,
beautiful.
and that she always, that's what she has. And, we
Oh,
started your book, I mean, after my,
oh,
back in 2017. Yeah.
that's so
16.
beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
But
thank you.
it's important to continue your story. That's actually I'm
Yes.
very intrigued to
Yes.
listen to this. But
Yes.
I just had to say it because when I hear that, it always gives me like the chills in my heart and
Yeah.
huge responsibility.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. And that's why what's so important, because so many of them that came to me with that suicide date, they'd already been 5150. They'd already been in psych wards. They'd already been in treatment centers. They'd already been to rehabs. They'd already been to eating disorder clinics. All of that reacting to the suicidality had been there for years. And SRT, not being in a therapeutic model, has an entirely different approach. And so we really honor that they have that date. We really honor that that is an option. I mean, we do have that choice. We do have that choice. And I just feel so privileged to have an opportunity to work with you because they'll say, this is my last, I've tried everything else. If this doesn't work, this is my date, right? This is how I'm going to do it. So there it is, it's there. But, because I have so many somatic sessions on myself and I give everything to Hashem, I do not pretend that I am uh,
We
any
bring Hashem and God into the therapy room all the time, every day.
all the time.
And we remind ourselves constantly during the day that it's there.
That's it. I mean, this is whatever
Yeah.
whatever his plan is his plan. And I'm going to mind my own business over here in my container, offer what I can offer, really listen to what he's asking me to do, and that's it. And then leave the rest to him. There's really so I that and that takes a lot of work. This is about us really doing our own work. Because anytime we're in the I'm have to fix it, this is my job, that is really what gets in the way. This is what I mean by the impediment that we can be if we're not really doing all of our both somatic and spiritual work, in my opinion, right? My little secret is that SRT is all about connecting us, giving us a stronger connection to our creator.
We
That's
are
what I care
we
about.
are as we have flesh, blood, and bone, we're also a spiritual being. And
That's it.
if we're not going to acknowledge that, that means your mind, body, and soul is not in alignment. And
That's
then
it.
there's chaos, and then there's suicide, and then there's activation, and
Yeah.
then there's no
Yeah.
life.
That's it. So we want to be able to bring that connection, the integration of all of that to each soul that we have the blessing to work with. And so in that, I mean, I really what I would love to share is that the healing has happened, and these are all people now that are in their 30s and they're doing well, and I've got them uh where they can thrive, and it is through the somatic work that helps them to connect to their spiritual life and have that again, or have it for the first time if they never had it. So, these are the most beautiful stories for me, are the young people that were really at the very end, that are now in adulthood, thriving.
So
That
when they
means a lot.
come, my question to you is when they come to you with the date of a suicide, how
Yeah.
close, how much time do you really have to work with them? How
Yeah,
does
well, this is why SRT, what's so important, and it's even in our handouts in module 3, because people want to know, well, how is this approach different than other approaches? And one of the really important ways that our approach is different than all the others is that it offers immediate relief, immediate relief. So they experience right away that we're not like any other approach. I'm not doing any history taking. I'm not asking you any questions. You don't have to tell me anything about, right? They're taken so outside the therapeutic model that it gives them so much hope. What do you mean? You're not going to make me tell you my history? You're not, where's your pad? Where's your, right? We don't take notes. We don't sit there with a pad and a pen and say, okay, so what are, there's nothing like that going on. It is love and humanity, right? Because again, remember with SRT, when you're outside that therapeutic model, what they're experiencing right away is there is no pedestal, there's no therapist here, and you're here coming for help. It's I'm a human, you're a human. I sit in that chair too, right? The requirement to be an SRT practitioner is that we do our SRT sessions as well, so that there's that sense with our clients always that I get it. Still working on myself. So there is this human to human experience where it's just about love and humanity, togetherness in this, not this. As soon as it just forget it, right? So and listen, I'm not saying that there isn't value in that. I'm not being critical. I don't want anyone to hear me being critical of them as a therapist or their approach as a therapeutic pro. I have no business. I'm in my own container. That's none of my business. There are things that are absolutely helpful about anything and everything, I'm sure, right? So what I'm talking about are my clients, which are the completely hopeless trauma babies that have tried absolutely everything else, that are on death's door, that need to have hope. They need immediate relief. They do not need more of the same in any way whatsoever. That's what SRT offers. And that is what these most hopeless clients need.
And let's say people that are, not suicidal or not in the hopeless, but they are moodless and just going by the day. Is it made for them as well?
Yeah, that's the real scary giving up, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
yeah, that is, it's a sad thing to say, forgive the expression, the walking dead like that. I've been there. I've been there, Mendy. Um, I remember, the years of just hollow deadness, not here, which was a giving up, and and also a private conversation with Hashem that would just say, you can take me anytime. When do I get my cancer diagnosis? Like when, like I'm ready. I'm ready, So it's a different kind of suicide or,
Yeah.
a different kind of death, isn't it? And absolutely, it is for listen, what is helpful to the worst of our conditions is helpful to all of our conditions. It really is, Mendy. Yeah. So there isn't anybody that this wouldn't be helpful for, you know?
Like you said before, that you are still doing the work, which I know what that means because I guess we're in the same. And people always come into the therapy room and ask me, so how fast is it going to take? How long do I need to do this? I says, and sometimes the young teens at 25, 30, I says, I'm always double in age with you, but I'm still doing my work. So when does it really end? I says, well, after your last breath.
Yes, that's the truth. And that's the other thing we do for them is we tell them the truth. We tell them the truth. We're here for a lifespan for a reason because it takes a lifespan. We're
Okay.
here in a physical body for a reason because it takes the physical body. This is divinely designed. This is divinely designed. So
Yeah.
it's all meant to be.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
he said something like, I myself was asking a certain question to myself, and I have this question sometimes from clients. Interesting. People say, okay, so now that I know it and I'm this and this age, why didn't I know it before? Because it was designed and destined for you to have it according to your side. This is the date. And
That's it.
and sail along, keep on going. Don't, keep on sailing.
That's right. That's
That
right.
that's
And that's a big one, Mendy. Sorry, very quickly, I'll just say that's a big one that I always give a lot of compassion to my clients about. I know it's really hard to not get to be ahead of where we are. I mean, we all want to be ahead of where we are. So I feel you. I feel you that we're not, we can't be there. We have to be here, but we're going to keep at it. But just bringing that compassion always for how hard it is to not be where we want to be. We want to be ahead of this. Yeah.
Would you say also that what would you say is most clients that come into you? Is it more suicide, or do you find also a lot of anxiety?
Yes,
And more than
yes,
ever? Would you say,
yes,
would you,
yes,
why is there so much anxiety today? What's really
yes.
going on?
Yeah, I do not think, and of course, we know that it's many, many, many different variables, but it is also not um, uh, an exaggeration, I don't think, to say that technology has played a central role in the increases in anxiety. For sure, Mendy, notice, right? Anybody who isn't yet convinced of that, it just, if you power off, if you just power off for an amount of time, you'll start to notice what happens in the nervous system when you're not hearing the ding and the bling and the ding and the bling and the right, the ring and the all of when, those that has us on a whoo, 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 the little hit, another hit. And that keeps us at an elevated state of physiology, if you will, right? We have elevated activation in our entire nervous system with technology. And unless you can do a clean out of it, right? If you can do a break from it and
Like we
really notice,
like I do and others do that on Shabbat we don't 26 hours we're totally offline.
that's it.
It's very blissful. It's unfortunately there's a lot of young teens that are already addicted and their nervous system is so activated and they can't hold back.
Yes, you
And
got it.
that's yeah, they
You
can't hold
got it.
back.
Yeah, it's that negative feedback loop that if they could be off it for long enough, their nervous system would start to come down. But in that deprivation stage, right, they're so used to getting the hits of those sounds and the, feedback and all of that. Yeah, that
We're seeing now
it's
with the young teens, we're seeing now, and I'm also experiencing it by teens that are coming in from difficult homes, but there's the new gaming industry where they're not even sleeping at night. They're 24 hours on, and they're like in a
correct.
different world, and
Yeah.
and they get activated with the blink of an eye.
You got it.
They
Sleep
really,
deprivation will do that, right? The combination of not sleeping at really most essential hours of the day.
I,
Um,
I ask most of my clients when I come in, this one of my questions is, do you sleep enough and do you have a good diet? Because they don't realize that sleeping and eating by eating healthy and sleeping the amount of hours and going to sleep at the regular time
that's it.
is how important it is for the nerve system. That's
You
something
got it. Yeah,
that's
I'm so glad. And the hydration factor of water as
water.
opposed to sodas, coffees, whatever all that other stuff is, like they do the energy drinks and
Yeah,
so many chemicals, chemicals. Some of them are vaping on those. The vapes
yeah,
are full of mercury and
right.
lead. They're doing very serious brain
Also,
damage and very serious activation to the nervous system. So it's really quite a combination of a
combination.
number of variables, yeah, that are sadly really keeping our youth in a such a challenging place, such a challenging place. Yeah. And this is why, Mendy, honestly, that for me personally, I love the combination between somatic and spiritual work together for me with 12 step. That also provides a spiritual solution to a spiritual malady. It's been very helpful. It's not the end all be all. I'm not saying it's for everyone or anything like that. But in some cases, I'm really, really hoping, Mendy, that we get very, very good at providing um, help for people with all of these various, sadly, what are becoming. I mean, I know nobody likes the word addiction, right? So, whatever word people need to use, a dependence on technology, on
I
vapes,
try
on,
to actually I what I do with my philosophy in a way is I try to normalize the word addiction.
yeah,
Why? Because it says we're all potential addicts if we don't take care of ourselves. And
you
we can
got
be
it.
addicted to coffee, we could be addicted to anything.
You
It's not
got it.
about what you're addicted to, it's what you're running
Correct.
away from.
Correct. And really, it's not even just about substances, it's about behaviors, right? And my own son, who is a self-admitted addict, he'll be 21 June 3rd. So beautiful. We get to be on this path together. And he was very young when he said that, Mom, addiction is not just about substances, it's about behaviors. And I said, You're right, son. And he really identifies with the behaviors he feels really addicted to, which includes the scrolling and the clicking and the YouTube and the, right, all of it, right? Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned the 12-step program. I happen to work with a lot of clients from the 12-step program, from SA, from different things. And I had clients coming into me from the 12-step program. They're already a couple of years in the program.
Yeah.
And I asked them, what step are you up to? And they told me zero.
Yeah.
So, and I asked them, what's really going on? They were totally, so, okay,
Yeah.
it's fine. And also they were totally disconnected from spirituality because once you're, you know, this the spiritual being is actually mirrored from your parents.
Yeah.
And if they got that wrong picture, so everything is no
Yes.
good.
Yes.
So basically with loving connection and doing a lot of somatic work with them, it takes time, but I've seen a difference that somebody like went up to the fourth step within maybe 3 months, like, and he's up to the fourth step. And yes, there's lapses up and down, but again, you're up to the fourth step where you a couple of years you were in, nothing happened. And he came to me, I'm so frustrated. I'm in the system. I am not doing anything. I'm not even talking to a sponsor. I'm not talking. Says, well, you got to do, and it's the nerve system. That's the part where that's missing in which in it's a great program, the 12
Yeah.
step program. And
Yeah. But you
now
need the somatic.
the somatic work. That's it. It's
100%.
if you don't put in the right gasoline into your car, it's not going to
You
work.
got it. You got it. I feel for the people in the rooms that are white knuckling it. You can tell,
Yeah.
the somatic piece is essential. And if people can get that first, or simultaneously, yes, that's fantastic, Mendy.
Reggie, I have a question now. What trends do you see in the field coming forward in somatic?
Mm.
Anything new?
Well, I see everybody talking a lot about attachment patterns now, right? Don't you
Right.
find there are
Yeah.
a lot of people that I like it. We're getting lighter about it, and people are talking about what their attachment pattern is, and noticing that, oh yeah, great, I'm an avoidant, and I'm married to an anxious. Oh boy, what's gonna happen? And all of
Right,
this.
right, right.
It's just kind of fun that we're taking out the shame and just talking more openly about all the things. I think before we were working on attachment pattern stuff so nicely, in this new trend that we're in. Before that, it was all about narcissism. Remember, we were really all talking about the narcissist versus the empath, and that was an interesting one. But yeah, I do notice every 5 to 10 years we're in another, noticing
Right.
of some of these things. And that's the one I'm noticing the most. And certainly all these beautiful touch approaches, right? People are loving breath work, TEB. And I think TEB is also transformative touch, right? And
Transformative touch, right?
yeah, and people are doing the IFS, and these things have been
It's
going
not
on.
only that IFS, the IFS incorporated already as well into somatic.
That's it. Thank you for noticing. This is what
Yeah.
I say to everybody is people, I just want people to know our approaches, our somatic approaches have all of that. See, the thing about SRT, it incorporates anything and everything. The difference is that we build resources and we patiently notice what rises naturally from inside of the client. We're always gauging their readiness. They reveal it to us. so yes, their child will show up. Different parts of them will show up. Like they'll need intentional safe touch. These things show up and we incorporate all of them. It's just that we don't go in with the agenda that says, this is how I practice, so I'm going to make sure we're addressing the inner child or the parts or making sure we're doing the touch. Or no, we actually are back here in our container, resourcing and then waiting for what rises in them, what their seeking is, what they're ready for. It reveals itself, and then we get to offer all these other things. Yeah.
Are you have any new plans or anything that you're coming out with the new book that I heard?
Yes.
That'd be exciting, or any other teachings or anything bring more out to the world, or
Yes.
enlighten us a
So
little bit. Yeah.
So I just came off a big tour of, gosh, I want to remember all the Muncie events and then the Toronto event and then the New Jersey event and then the Florida event. And I'm saying it as though it was a singular event. We always do multiple events at the same time. Our next one now, because my whole team is saying, can we have a little bit of a break? Because it's a lot of traveling, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of, it's intense, right? It's fun, super fun, but it's a lot. So because we start a whole new class at the end of January each year, we like to get through module one of the SRT training without doing too much else. So we've got everybody into module two now. Everyone's going to enjoy the summer. And in the fall, we're going to make sure that we're doing some events live. And so right now, we're determining, is it going to be in Brooklyn? Is it going to be in Lakewood? Is it going to be back in Florida? So we're not 100% sure. We're going to firm all that stuff up. And this is why I invite people to go to drmelrose.com, because when you're at my website, you can learn about different things that you can be doing, in between live events. There are a lot of really beautiful things, but also just to get on the email list. We don't send out a lot of emails, Mendy. You've probably noticed that. We
Right.
do not bombard people with emails, not our style. But we do like to let people know of upcoming live events. And so if people sign up there at the website, then they'll get notified every time there's a live event. And they'll also get notified the next time that they can really let us know that they want to join our next SRT
And
training.
do you still do also personal sessions back in California?
So my personal sessions that I do, because I do still do them, I have an intensive. I have somebody flying out from New York on Sunday to come and start working with me this coming week. Um, I do reserve those spots for my students, my graduates, and my practitioners, which is such a large number of people now
Yeah.
that it keeps me very, very
Busy.
busy,
Got
very,
it.
very busy.
Keep keep
Now,
keep keep me a spot.
you got it. It would be an absolute honor. I would love that. And also, Mendy, there's a chance there once people come to live events and I know them and they're in my little circle now. Very hard for me to say no to those people too. I have to have some hard no's,
Yeah.
sometimes, unfortunately. But, if I'm seeing that this work is really calling someone and they've come to some events and they've done some work maybe with another SRT practitioner. Once I know they're really engaging with the work, then that's where I can make exceptions and have people come if they really want to come. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. So the
Yeah.
best way to contact you will be drmelrose.com.
That's the best way,
Best
Mendy.
way, and we'll also print it.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for this interview. It really
Oh,
meant so much to me as well. And
Mendy.
your light is coming out to the world from this. There's so much good content that you gave,
Oh,
and let's hope we're changing one person at a time, and we're
yeah.
changing ourselves.
Isn't that what's so beautiful? And
Right.
Mendy, that's what makes this such an honor for me. You have always gotten it. You get it. You just so get it. It means a lot to me to get to be here with you. I love your work. I'm so glad we got to do this together. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Well, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.